In the video I uploaded on July 8th, I talked about my relationship with my dad while growing up, and then how he and my mom reacted when I came out to them, which was very positive. Now I want to talk a little bit about how I feel like being gay actually was beneficial, as I was a primary caregiver for my mom who had non-Hodgkin lymphoma. In the first moment I included for August 9th in my book, Losing Linda May, a Cancer Caregiving Memoir, I'm changing my mom's diaper, and I decide that her vagina looks like the Eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which makes everyone bust out in laughter. Not only is this one of my favorite memories from the experience of being a primary caregiver for my mom, I also think it's a good representation of why it was so beneficial that I was gay. Seeing my mom naked and cleaning her private parts was jarring at first, of course, because it was that role reversal of parent and child, but even in the beginning, it wasn't that uncomfortable for me because I had no relationship to breasts and vaginas. They were just another appendage that were just there. And of course, it was weird seeing where I was birthed out of, but whatever, it's just another body part. And I think that differs from someone who is attracted to those body parts, like a straight son or a lesbian daughter. I didn't have those hangups. I didn't have to reconcile with the fact that the thing that I'm normally attracted to, I am now having to see on my mom, on my parent. I think that fact also made my mom more comfortable and put her at ease. If you look at all the temporary caregivers who came to stay with her during her stem cell transplant hospitalization, they were all straight women. My dad and I were the only family caregivers who were men who ever interacted with her naked or changed her diaper. My brother, to my knowledge, never did that, and I don't think he would have felt comfortable doing that, nor do I think my mom would have felt comfortable with him doing that. And it's not because it's this weird incestuous thing or tension or anything like that. It's just like a baseline comfort level. I think if the situation was reversed and my dad was the one who was going through cancer treatment, I would have felt way more uncomfortable seeing him naked and changing his diaper than I ever did with my mom. To put it bluntly, I normally find dicks attractive, and so the last thing I want to see is my dad's. Ugh, it's just gross for me to conceive. To quote Valerie Cherish from The Comeback, I don't want to see that. It's just not what I would choose to see if I had to. This is also just my American side coming out, because in other countries, it is so much more common to see your family members naked, and it's not this weird taboo thing. So I'm fully aware that this commentary is not applicable everywhere in the world, but it certainly is in the United States. Being gay also made building relationships with the female medical providers who were working with my mom so much easier, because there was never that question of whether or not I was hitting on them. And because I had grown up with predominantly female friends, there was just this rapport that was so easy to establish. Whereas if I was straight, I think it would have been a lot more stilted and awkward. I could ask them personal questions like whether or not they were seeing someone, and they didn't have to worry that I was just doing that to ultimately ask them out, and they didn't have to lie to me just to prevent that from happening. So we could actually build these real relationships and connections, which, as I mentioned in a previous video, are so important to getting good care. Speaking of dating, being gay meant that I also had access to the infamous Grindr, which arranges all of its users based on their location and their proximity to you. And while I wasn't ever really looking to go on dates or hang out, I mostly was using it as a distraction and filling time when I was bored in the hospital. But in some instances, I did arrange to meet up with people, and it was so convenient because instead of having to meet someone organically at a bar, which I wasn't able to do anyway, I could pre-arrange something for the few moments where I had some free time, where I didn't need to be in the hospital or where I had the hotel room alone. I'll be sharing on TikTok a story from one of these hangouts that occurred in Omaha, Nebraska during part 2 of my book. So go follow at Just Some Hindsight on there, because it is cut content that I didn't end up including in the final manuscript of Losing Linda May. So there were definitely a lot of benefits of being gay as a primary caregiver for my mom, but there were also some negatives as well. One was that I was really cut off from my gay community. I was completely surrounded by heteronormative culture and humor. I combated that by watching RuPaul's Drag Race, but that show can only do so much. I was also in the conservative Midwest, so I was much more attentive to how I was talking, how I was behaving, what I was wearing, because I did worry about getting too many looks or feeling like I could get gay bashed or called the F slur. In a lot of ways, it made me regress to how I was in high school when I was closeted and just watching my every move, because I knew that I was in the minority and there were a lot of people around me whose religion and political ideology made me out to be some sort of enemy because I was different than them and they didn't agree with who I was as a human being or who I loved. So that is not a good feeling to be holding around on a daily basis. Thankfully, I didn't experience any prejudice as I was navigating the medical system alongside my mom, but a lot of LGBTQIA plus people do when they are in those situations, especially if they are the patient and they are in a very conservative part of this country. My hope in publishing this book and sharing my lived experiences as a gay primary caregiver is that it will get into the hands of individuals who don't believe that I should have the rights that I currently have, and that maybe it will change their minds. Because according to a 2010 study by MetLife, 10% of family caregivers identify as LGBTQIA plus individuals. And that's a lot of people who are acting in this role, but you don't see this represented in the stereotypes of gay people that are put out by the media. So I'm hoping the book provides additional awareness and actually shows how it can be beneficial to be gay as a primary caregiver. I'll be uploading another video tomorrow, August 10th, where I'll be talking about the idea of good things happening to good people. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to my book is in the description, and I will see you all then.